Rain hammered against the cracked pavement, turning the narrow city street into a mirror of lights and puddles. Emily Parker tugged her frayed coat tighter around her thin frame and adjusted the tiny hand clinging to hers. Her 5-year-old son, Liam, yawned sleepily, his small rain boots splashing in the shallow water. "Mommy, my feet are cold," he murmured. "I know, sweetheart," Emily said softly, brushing wet strands of hair from his forehead. "Just a few more minutes, okay? Our ride's on the way." Her phone buzzed. Finally, an Uber had accepted. She squinted at the screen through the drizzle. Black Mercedes-Benz. Driver. Ethan. She frowned. That had to be a mistake. No one in a luxury car picked up rides from the rundown neighborhood where she rented a one-bedroom apartment. Still, a few minutes later, the sleek black car pulled up beside them, headlights slicing through the fog. Emily hesitated. "This can't be mine." The tinted window rolled down, revealing a man with dark hair, sharp features, and eyes that carried both warmth and command. "Emily Parker?" he asked, his tone smooth and even. She blinked, caught off guard by his voice. Deep, confident, not at all what she expected from a rideshare driver. Yes, that's me. Sorry, I wasn't expecting." He gave a small, polite smile. "No worries. Hop in before you and your little one freeze." Grateful, she ushered Liam inside, the scent of leather and cedar filling the air. The car's interior was spotless, modern, and far too elegant for someone like her. Emily instantly felt out of place, tugging at her wet sleeve as she apologized for Liam's damp backpack touching the seat. "Don't worry about it," the man said with a quiet chuckle. "Kids make life colorful." Liam giggled at that, instantly liking him. "You sound like the people on TV," he said innocently. Ethan's lips curved. "I'll take that as a compliment." They rode mostly in silence after that. Emily couldn't stop thinking about how calm he seemed, how he didn't look at her with pity, just quiet interest. When they arrived at her destination, the towering Kingston Enterprises building, she reached for her wallet. "How much do I owe you?" He looked at her, almost amused. "No need. Good luck in there, Ms. Parker." As she stepped into the rain again, clutching Liam's hand, Emily smiled gratefully, unaware that the man she'd mistaken for an Uber driver was about to become her new millionaire boss. The next morning, Emily's heart thudded as she stood before the glass doors of Kingston Enterprises, the city's most prestigious marketing firm. The building rose into the clouds, polished steel and glass gleaming under the morning sun, a world away from her cramped apartment and second-hand clothes. She took a deep breath, whispering a silent prayer that today would be different. Inside, everything sparkled. Marble floors, gold accents, the scent of fresh lilies in the air. Receptionists in tailored suits greeted guests with flawless smiles. Emily smoothed her thrift store blazer, painfully aware of the small tear near the sleeve, and tried to ignore the way her old heels squeaked on the polished floor. "I'm here for the administrative assistant interview," she said softly to the receptionist. The woman nodded politely. "Of course, Ms. Parker. Conference room B, top floor." As the elevator rose, Emily's reflection stared back at her. Tired eyes, hair neatly tied back, determination hiding behind exhaustion. She thought of Liam's sleepy face that morning and the way he'd whispered, "You're gonna get the job, Mommy." That was all the strength she needed. When the doors opened, Emily walked into the conference room, and froze. Sitting at the head of the long glass table was the man from last night's Uber ride. The same sharp jawline, the same calm, unreadable eyes. He looked entirely different now, dressed in an immaculate suit, posture confident, every inch the man in charge. "Ms. Parker," he greeted, rising from his chair. "I see you found the building all right." Emily's mouth went dry. You're Mr. Kingston, Ethan Kingston," he said smoothly, extending his hand. "CEO." Her hand trembled as she shook his. Heat rushed to her cheeks. "I'm so sorry. I thought you were my Uber driver last night. I didn't realize." He chuckled, the sound deep and genuine. "No harm done. You needed a ride, and I was heading that way." The other executives exchanged amused looks, but Ethan's gaze held only kindness. He gestured toward a chair. "Please, have a seat, Ms. Parker. Let's begin." Emily sat, her pulse racing. "Great start, Emily, mistake your boss for a chauffeur." But as the interview began, Ethan noticed something that silenced his amusement. The quiet intelligence in her words, the spark in her eyes, the sincerity in every answer. And for the first time in a long while, Ethan Kingston, the man who had everything, found himself intrigued by someone who had nothing but hope. Weeks turned into months, and Emily's life slowly began to change. Her mornings no longer began with panic over unpaid bills or desperate job searches. Now she woke up before sunrise, packed Liam's lunch, and caught the early bus downtown, always arriving at Kingston Enterprises before anyone else. At first, the corporate world overwhelmed her. The strict deadlines, endless emails, and polished colleagues who looked like they'd stepped straight out of fashion magazines. But Emily learned fast. She took notes, asked questions, and stayed late when others left. Her desk soon became a small island of calm, tidy, efficient, with a photo of Liam taped to her monitor. From his corner office, Ethan Kingston noticed. He noticed the woman who never complained, who smiled even when the workload doubled, who always volunteered to help others without expecting recognition. He'd find himself pausing during meetings, glancing through the glass wall as she organized papers with quiet determination. One evening, long after everyone had gone home, Ethan walked past the operations floor. The lights were dim except for one, Emily's desk lamp. She sat hunched over spreadsheets, her hair falling loose from its bun, eyes heavy with fatigue. A cup of cold coffee sat forgotten beside her. He hesitated before approaching. "Ms. Parker." She jumped slightly, then quickly stood. "Mr. Kingston, I was just finishing up the monthly reports. I didn't realize it was so late." He glanced at the clock. "Nearly midnight. You've been here since 8 this morning." "I just wanted to make sure everything was perfect," she said with a nervous laugh. "I know how important the client presentation is tomorrow." He studied her. The worn edges of her notebook, the tiny doodles Liam had drawn in the margins, the tired yet steady light in her eyes. "Perfection isn't worth your health," he said quietly. She smiled faintly. "I'll rest after tomorrow." Without another word, Ethan placed a fresh cup of coffee beside her and lowered his voice. "You're doing amazing, Emily. Don't forget to breathe." Their eyes met, for just a heartbeat, and something unspoken passed between them. Not the cold professionalism of a CEO and his employee, but a warmth neither expected. As he walked away, Ethan realized he was thinking about her more than he should. And Emily, staring at the coffee he'd brought, felt her heart flutter in a way it hadn't in years. 3 months later, Kingston Enterprises hosted its annual charity gala, an elegant evening of glittering chandeliers, flowing champagne, and whispered business deals. For Emily, it was a night far removed from her world. She had never attended anything so grand. Her simple navy blue dress, borrowed from a coworker, felt painfully plain among sequined gowns and designer suits. Still, she held her head high. She'd come far, from waiting in the rain with Liam to working directly with the company's executive team. She was proud, even if she still felt like an outsider looking in. "Ms. Parker," a familiar voice said behind her. She turned, heart skipping. Ethan Kingston stood there in a black tuxedo, effortlessly confident, his gaze softening as it met hers. For a moment, the glittering room seemed to fade around them. "You look..." He paused, searching for a word that didn't sound like every other empty compliment he'd ever given. "Incredible." Her cheeks warmed. "Thank you, Mr. Kingston. You clean up pretty well yourself." He smiled. Not the polished corporate smile she'd seen in meetings, but something real. "Ethan," he corrected gently. "Right," she said, amused. "Ethan." They stood together near the balcony overlooking the city, the hum of music and laughter behind them. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of rain, the same scent from the night they'd first met. "You once mistook me for your Uber driver," he said, a teasing glint in his eyes. Emily groaned, covering her face. "Oh no, don't remind me. I'll never live that down." "I'm glad you did," he said quietly. She blinked. "Glad? You mean you enjoyed being mistaken for a chauffeur?" His smile faded into something more sincere. "It let me see you before you saw the suit, the office, the title. You treated me with kindness, not caution." "That's rare." Emily hesitated, her heart beating faster. "I was just being polite." "No," Ethan said softly, stepping closer. "You were being you, and that's exactly what this company, what I, Needed. The silence between them deepened, charged but gentle. City lights shimmered below as Emily looked up at him, unsure what to say. "And what did you see?" she finally whispered. He smiled faintly, his voice low. "The woman I've been waiting for. The one who reminds me that success means nothing without someone real to share it with." Emily's breath caught. For once, words failed her. And somewhere deep inside, she realized, maybe her luck hadn't changed by accident after all.